You know, we knew that this day would be coming. A day of sadness, but rejoicing also.
Next Sunday I'll be here.
I'm sorry?
I'm coming here next Sunday.
Well, you told me you were leaving after today.
I extended it.
All right. We are blessed with another week of blue.
You're going to tell the people that don't know what's going on?
Yes, please. Go ahead. No, go ahead. It's your ministry.
It's your extension.
Well, Miss Billy will be moving to West Virginia to start her own little ministry. And we have been so blessed to have her here as an extension of her family. And when she leaves, her and Brother Jake, now, we don't talk about Brother Jake very often, but I'm certainly going to take this opportunity to tell you how much of a blessing he has been to me. Because when he first came, he was so quiet, just like me. Believe it or not, I'm a very quiet person, very reserved. So it takes a while for me to get to know someone and open up. But it wasn't too long and before Mr. Jake started opening up. And as you can tell, Miss Millie is no shy young lady. When she comes in with the presence, all right? Very pronounced present and everything like that. And it takes a very special partner, a special husband, spouse, whatever you want to call, to kind of sit in the wings while someone else is the outspoken one. But that does not diminish his ministry whatsoever. Because as her ministry grows and gives birth, so will his. So when we think of praying for Miss Millie and her ministry in West Virginia, we also need to keep Brother Jake, because if I've learned anything, it's really hard on a spouse to be a support, because you want to say, you want to defend, you want to jump out, you want to attack sometimes whenever your spouse is getting attacked, but you just can't do that sometimes and everything like that. So please, as she leaves, as they leave, please keep them in your prayers and everything like that. Their journey is just now beginning. You got to remember, this church is not building castles. What are we doing? We're building a kingdom. All right? The kingdom will last forever. So, Miss Millie, I don't know what you're going to do next Sunday, but you got to do something. You just can't go out quiet.
Maybe I can sing that song I've been wanting to sing, but I have so much trouble with it.
Well,
That's up to Jimmy.
I don't know how you got so many words in that one breath, but hey,
I messed up on that room. You did great.
you did awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. You just told on yourself. Now, with that being said, I would like to speak out a little bit about another song that we sung today. And if there's any song that touches my heart, it's this song. And I'm not sure. I think it was probably back in 2005 through 2010, somewhere along that area, where this song was given to my sister. And it's done nothing but humble me. And I'd just like to read a couple of verses of this song. There's a place that I love to go, in the shelter of your wings. You make me whole. It's where you heal all my brokenness. Inside places only your love can be applied. It's in your presence I find peace. It's in your presence that the storms must cease. It's in your presence I find healing divine. In that place, oh, that secret place, let my spirit abide. In the times that my heart cannot understand all the cruel and heartless things done by man, yet still I know that my God has a plan. He can heal and restore. Yes, my God can. In His presence, you will find peace. And in His presence, the storms must cease. Now, as you listen to those words, you are so privileged because that came straight from the throne of God. And if it wasn't my sister, if it was just anyone else, I would still give the praise for these words. One day, it's going to be recorded for the whole world to hear it. Right now, y'all are the only ones that's hearing it. But as she gets these songs copyrighted and we're able to distribute them on the web, the whole world is going to be able to hear that special message. All right, enough of that. Let's get to the meat of the service today. The title is, He's the Same Yesterday, Today, and Forever. Now, we always focus on this scripture, but this is one particular part of this scripture I want you to focus on, and it's yesterday. Not today, not tomorrow, not for everything in the future. But I want you to focus on yesterday. Let's go to Hebrews, the 13th chapter. Hebrews 13, we're going to be reading verse 8. Simply says, Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. We serve a never-changing, never-wavering, steadfast God. As we read in Malachi 3:16, it says, "For I am the Lord, and I do not change." What He was yesterday, He'll be today. And what He is today, He will be that way forever. I want to go on, and I want to say this. It's going to get repeated a lot, but please bear with me and take heart as to what's being said here. For the world had a yesterday that was the beginning. You have a yesterday that you were conceived. The world had a yesterday that God finished creation and said, all is good. You had a yesterday in which you were birthed. The world had a yesterday when it had its first sin take place. You had a yesterday when you had sin in your life. The world had a yesterday where Cain and Abel committed the first murder. You had a day where you experienced a crime against you. The world had a yesterday which became the darkest day this world had ever seen. It was the day of Calvary. But you had a yesterday in which you turned your back on God and you seen the same darkness. The world had a yesterday where we saw the birth of Christ. You had a yesterday, a new birth, the Savior coming into your life. The world had a yesterday that had a resurrection. You had a yesterday where your you had a yesterday where yourself seemed dead, but was reborn when you asked Jesus into your life. The world had a yesterday of the great flood. You had a yesterday where the world seemed as if you were involved in that great flood. The world had a yesterday of a rainbow and a promise. You had a yesterday where God promised He would never leave you or forsake you. The world had a yesterday of seed planting. You had a yesterday where you planted a seed in someone's life. The world had a yesterday of a great harvest. You had a day where God allowed you to see a harvest fulfilled. The world had yesterday a famine. You had a day where it seemed like you had nothing. The world had a yesterday of overflow. You had a yesterday in which you drank from the living water. You know, we hardly and we rarely think about yesterdays very much. But I challenge you now to start thinking about yesterdays, because every yesterday had God involved in it. The future we do not know. Today we're living in, but yesterday we've already experienced. So you have experienced a God that is a loving God, a caring God, a God that wants to be a part of your life. Because you had a yesterday. Today will bring a lot of things. Tomorrow will bring even more. But you've got to learn to give thanks for your yesterdays and what God allowed in your life. Because it's only going to make you stronger. It's only going to bring you closer to Him. And you're going to have that special relationship where tomorrow's will not be something you regret or you look back and think, oh goodness, why? Why did I have to go through that? Well, you had to go through it because today is here and it brings another challenge. And someone else may need that experience that you just went through yesterday. Because the world had lots of yesterdays. But so have you. And I would hope that you would have a different perspective on all of those yesterdays than the world. Because the world looks at itself to solve its problems. We as Christians, we look at God to solve the problems. He is the answer. But we can't just sit back and do nothing. We can't just sit back and pray and read our Bible and come to church. We've got to get involved. We've got to have a purpose for that yesterday. We're just not living, breathing people. We need to be a living, breathing people that has a purpose. And if your yesterday didn't have a purpose for any other reason than to say to you, I lived a day that God gave me. But don't say I didn't do anything. Say I did everything I could for you, Lord. Yesterdays are very important. It's who you are today. It'll be who you are tomorrow. Because what you did to yesterday, you brought into today. If you loved yesterday, what are you going to do today? You're going to love. Now, there's always a negative part, and Satan wants to throw that in. But at this church, we don't like to focus on the negative part. We like to acknowledge it because we're not one of those feel-good churches. We are a reality. We are a Bible-based church where it says, you know what? We're going to have heartaches. We're going to have bad days. We're going to commit sins. We're going to do things wrong. But we have a Redeemer. We have someone that will stand in the gap and say, you know what? You made a mistake. You're not perfect. And that's the kind of people I need. Because if you was perfect, you wouldn't need me. And you know where that story goes. Yesterday is your future. Learn from it. I mean, we all can remember when we were in school and we learned something and we brought it to the next day and then the next year and then the year after that. That's the way God works. God teaches you something yesterday for today. But it doesn't eliminate and say that, you know what, you can't use it in any other day. Keep using it. If it worked for you yesterday, it'll work for you today. Now, there are scriptures that whenever we first started learning and everything like that, it had a different meaning than what it does today. That's okay. It's called revelation. We all grow. But then you got to remember, because we're a judge-free church, we don't believe in judging. We've got someone that's already done that, or that has that seat. All right? I have a hard enough time worrying about my life than I have to worry about everybody else's and what they're doing wrong. Now, I like to acknowledge what they're doing right. But if we're not going to judge, we're just not. So remember this. As you enter this holiday, I want you to make a commitment that next Friday, on the 25th of November, I think that's right, correct me if I'm wrong, that's the day after Thanksgiving, that your yesterday, which will be Thanksgiving, make sure when you spend it with your families and your loved ones, that when you go into Friday, you have no regrets. That there's no more strife. There's no more disconnect from that family member that hurt you or you hurt them. Because let me tell you, God is there. God is love. And this is a day of thanksgiving. And however the world celebrates it, don't fall into that trap. You need to fall into the trap of, you know what? God has given me this day to make things new, to heal the brokenness that this family has. And every family has it. I don't know one family. Every family that I put on a pedestal, and I think, you know what? I wish my family was like that. I wish that we could just come together and rejoice and laugh and everything like that, only to find out that they have heartaches and brokenness also. Don't worry about anyone else's family. Focus on your family this Thanksgiving. Whatever it takes, because yesterday matters. Yes, they hurt you. Yes, they said things that they shouldn't have. But be a better person. Be of God, because you know what? You've hurt God. You've done things that He didn't like. But He never gave up on you. So if He never gave up on you, what gives us the authority to give up on our loved ones? Why would you do that? He is the same today as He was yesterday. If you didn't have forgiveness yesterday, get it today. So tomorrow, your yesterday had forgiveness in it. There's so many times during this time of the year where you look back and you remember, man, Uncle David, Aunt Vanessa, my next door neighbor Paul. You remember when we had that laugh and we had that good time and everything like that? Shouldn't that be every holiday? Shouldn't that be every day? Why just bring it on holidays? God's love does not just happen on Thanksgiving and Christmas and on special holidays and birthdays. It happens every day. It happens every yesterdays. Tap into it. It's a resource that most people don't know about, because people don't like to live in the past. Except when you go to high school reunions and that's all they want to talk about is that one touchdown or you know, whatever. But with God, He wants you to remember what He's done for you and bring it into the next day. You know, I know that this sermon is kind of short, And we only had a couple of scriptures. But if you really look at it, Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. He will never change. So if you can ever come to the point where you know in your knower that He loves you and He will never desert you, then He will be the same in your life every day. So if you get sick, or you lose someone, or there's a family member that just irks you, just remember, God forgave you. And it's so simple. I mean, do you really want to go through the rest of your life not liking someone? I mean, what kind of seed does that plant? I tell you what it does. If you can do it for one, you can do it for two. If you can do it for two, you can do it for three. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's endless. Don't open that door of unforgiveness, no matter who it is and no matter what they've done. Because my God has sent His Son to die for whatever that person's done for you and to you. So it's not even your yoke. It's not even your burden to carry. Give it to Him. Let Him handle it. Trust me, He can handle it. He can certainly do it much better than me. Venture to say, without offending anyone, He could probably do it a little bit better than you. Don't know, but I'll let you answer that one. There's a place that I love to go, in the shelter of your wings. You make me whole. It's where you heal all the brokenness. This is where it is. This is yesterday. You had brokenness. The key word, had. You no longer have that. You have God, and He restores everything that's broken. So again, if I see you next Sunday, and I hope I see all of you out there during the meal, I want you to be able to come to me and say, you know what? Friday, November 25th was the best day I've ever had, because my yesterday was the best day I've ever experienced. It's up to you. I cannot control it, but you can. You can make next Thursday the best day of your life. That's simple. God is not hard. God is not complicated. He is forgiving and He is love. He understands everything. God has never seen a sin that He's never seen before. I mean, you think this world is committing sins that He's never seen before? If you do, please go and read about Sodom and Gomorrah. Go read how God can turn someone that murders and commits adultery and all that, how He can make his heart turn around and become a king and a man after His own heart. My God can do that. So don't think that you're a hopeless case, because you're not. All right? God's seen worse, but you know what? God's not worried about them anymore. He's already restored them. What He's looking at is you right now in your present states. And He's willing to work with you no matter what. It doesn't matter what you've done. It just doesn't. But what are you going to do about it? That's what matters. We tell our kids, you know what? Be honest. Be truthful. All right, adults, let's be honest. Let's be truthful. All right? Do you believe in a God? If the answer is yes, then why aren't you living for Him? And if the answer is no, hey, let's get to know Him. All right? It doesn't take an experienced 50-year-old, someone praying and everything. All it takes is, hey, God, What's up? But if you want to throw those thous and holy beeth, all that stuff, go ahead, do that. He can understand that too. But my God is I wouldn't say a simple God, but He's a very simple God. Hey God, I'm not perfect. I've sinned. I want to do better. I'm going to love my enemies. I want to bless those that curse me. Woo-hoo! Is that a heavy burden there, huh? Who wants to bless anyone that's out to get me? Well, let's look at some of the disciples, and Jesus brought them into His little club. They wanted to do nothing but harm Him. And look where the church is today. All right, so without going any further and without rambling on about yesterdays, just remember, God's got a yesterday for you. And I want it to be great. I'm so excited for next Thursday. This will be the second Thursday of Thanksgiving that we will not have my mom and dad, but we had yesterdays with them. And I can honestly say, they were great. But this Thursday will be even better. Because I have those yesterdays, and I'll have another one with people I love. And I will have it without it being burdened down with hatred or resentment or something petty such as an argument or they said something in the heat of the moment. I'll have forgiveness. Oh, and that can do so much. Y'all stand, please.